Good morning guys. We're back at it yet again. Today we're in Karatina, Nyeri County. Yeah, we're learning daily with this second generation daily man, Mr. Paul. Hi Paul.
Hello.
So Paul, earlier in a conversation earlier you told me that you actually didn't start with these pedigree cows. Yeah, I've seen you advertise pedigree cows you sell to farmers around your area. Yeah. So when you're looking to start a dairy farm and you're trying to purchase a good pedigree dairy cow, what features do you typically look out for?
One thing, if you want to start dairy farming, yes, I don't encourage a person to start from actually going for pedigree. I advise a person to start first learning what a cow is, and basically knowing how to feed that cow. If you know how to feed that cow, that means now you can go out looking for a good cow, either that pedigree or depending with the characteristic or all that. When you come to a dairy cow, we look at the different things, which include the body structure and the conformity of that cow.
Okay.
For instance, one thing we check from a dairy cow, you'll make sure a cow, for example, I can use this one. Okay. Look at the legs.
Yes.
Make sure they are not, that cow is not fat, but has very strong legs. Look at the udder from the pelvic to where the udder starts. It should be around 6 inches.
Okay.
From that, all the other things, check on the pelvic.
Okay.
And pelvic and this bone. This one should be parallel, and also check on the back. The back should be straight. On the other side, if you stand in front of that cow, it will look like a triangle in shape. That means you can see this cow is a bit wide at the back, but narrows down to the front. The other thing you check is on the chest area. So when you look check at the chest area, it will have at least a broad chest. That means the legs will be properly wide apart. You can see it has a space between the legs. At least from bigger for that. Also the other thing, you check on the udder. Okay. The udder should be well positioned. It should not be protruding outside on this side or going too much backwards. That means the first two teeth should be at least at the middle, and the other two teeth should be in between. That means that udder is asymmetrical and well positioned to be able to produce milk. For one thing is, a big udder does not mean a lot of milk production. But the conformity for that cow to be able to sustain that udder for the longest time should check on the strength of the legs, the conformity of the udder, and the way it is positioned for it to be as a very good dairy cow. On the other part, you also go look on the female genetics. For example, you can find a calf which is actually in a female, but it has a characteristics of a bull. Whenever you have a producing cow, you have to touch on these ribs. Okay. The difference, those ribs should be at least a bit, you can feel them, and a gap of at least 3 fingers between one rib to the other. Are you together? Yes. So for a milking cow, for this one which is actually in calf, for a milking cow you'll note they are at least very well illustrated ribs, but not completely thin or fat. Okay. Should be at least at the middle, because when a cow becomes excessively fat, it won't produce enough milk. When it becomes extremely emaciated, you'll also lack the milk. So your dairy cow should be balanced. Are you together? Because if you check a producing cow, and you'll also check from the others, you'll see there is a vein that contains a lot of blood. Yes. That vein, at the udder. Under the udder, you will note that vein, if the cow is actually fat, what will happen on that vein? It will accumulate a lot of fat around it, which means there will be not enough blood flow to the udder, because that is not, most people think that vein is milk. That vein is not actually milk. That vein is actually blood. And that blood actually transports the feed to the udder, to the things we call the alveoli in the udder, which actually helps in making out that milk that you see. So if it's extremely fat, what happens is there is not enough blood that will be going to your udder. That means productivity of milk will go low.
Perfect. So Paul, I'm looking at what you're feeding your heifers here and what you're feeding your milking cows, and it's quite different.
Yes, all the cows, if you actually know how to feed your cows,
Yeah.
you realize that every cow is fed differently according to its production.
Okay.
For example, this is a heifer and it's not actually producing. It does not have enough milk, or it's not actually producing milk. So actually these ones we are actually mixing hay with road grass and the super napier bit, but we also add some a little maize, a little bit of dairy meal and maize germ. The reason being, this cow, when we use, one thing is very expensive is silage. Silage is one of the most expensive, and it contains a lot of energy, which is actually probably very good for our milking cows. But for these cows, we need this cow to enlarge its stomach, the rumen.
Okay.
For the enlarging, hay does a very good job in that. And also, hay harvested at the best stage. And when I say at the best stage is, it's at the flowering stage and properly harvested and stored. That means it has very good energy levels and also some crude protein, which actually supplement for the heifers that does not require a lot of energy because it does not produce milk at the moment.
Okay.
Are you together? Those now that are the heifers. Now, when it comes to the milking cows requires a considerable amount of energy.
Okay.
Are you together?
Yes.
For milk production, for body conditions, for productivity, and for even sustaining its health. So that means we have to give it enough because we're also taking it from it. That is why we use silage, and we can see we mix our own silage, which is here. We add a little bit of hay, very little. You can see we have very little amount of hay. This is because yes, hay contains some little amount of protein also, but a lot of energy is concentrated on the maize silage, and a cow requires a lot of energy for both milk production and sustainability. On the other hand, we also add our dairy meals and minerals and energy sources.
So this is what you call total ration, eh?
Yes, this is what we call a total mix ration, whereby we mix our silage, we mix a little bit of hay, and also mix dairy meal and the mineral salts to make what we call a total mix ration. And in simple, total mix ration is a balanced diet. And when it comes to a balanced diet, what we mean is our silage contains energy, our hay also contains some part of energy, it also contains some part of protein. Then we get the dairy meal, from the dairy meal we get the maximum protein we need for our own cows. Then when it comes to minerals, we also add at least per cow, at least around 200 grams of mineral salt to each cow to be able to have all that. The difference when it comes to actually a milking cow is high energy is required and high protein. Because when you talk about milk production, milk contains all the balanced nutrients. So milk contains energy, milk contains protein, milk contains all the mineral salts. So meaning, even if you extract the same from this cow, you should also replace that, so that your cow does not have other issues and all that. On when it comes to actually feeding, let's say you're feeding a dry cow. A dry cow is another scenario, whereby that cow is not producing milk, but you're actually preparing it actually to calve. The feeding is also different. Depending, yes, is it the last 2 months, whereby you are actually doing the steaming up, where it requires more energy. For that, psychologically, you'll be telling that cow, in this world there is a lot of feed, so kindly prepare your udder properly to be able to produce more milk. On the other side, when you are feeding actually for a dry cow, you're actually feeding and the steaming at the steaming stage. That means you are preparing that cow for the next lactation period, which will take almost the next 7 months, or approximately 7 months to 9 months. If you're actually feeding that way, that means you'll have it enough energy for it to be able to calve. You also have it enough energy for it to be able to come on heat again, specifically after 40 days to 90 days. 45 days, it's approximately 45 to 90 days. And that helps in actually productivity and longevity in production for your own cows. So feeding is very crucial at each stage, either it's a calf, either it's a heifer, either it's a milking cow, or either it's a dry cow. Feeding is different according to the need of the cow. When it comes to cost of production, our cost of production is right now is at around 30 shillings per liter of milk produced. The cost of production is key whenever you are actually doing dairy, so that you can be able to plan properly and to realize if your business is actually making profit or losses. And on the other hand, for you to be able to actually lower the cost of production, one thing is actually by producing your own feed at the lowest cost possible, or actually purchasing the same feeds during the surplus. And that's why I've always been telling farmers, make sure you preserve probably your silage during the season. When you talk about comfort in a dairy cow, it's very important. Using here the cow mattress, it's not actually the most comfortable, because there are other methods that are more comfortable compared to this, but it is at least sustainable for us. Because these cows are able to stay in a very clean environment, they're able to sleep comfortably, because a cow at least requires around 14 to 16 hours of sleep for it to be able to produce maximally. And if that cow to be able to sleep for all that for that long, that means that cow should be feeding, should be having a very comfortable place. That's all. And when it comes to cleanliness, cleanliness is actually very good in terms of controlling diseases and controlling even what we call mastitis, which mastitis is one of the things that actually is a menace in this area of dairy farming and leads to a lot of losses. So at least when you clean, it helps you actually reduce all that and some of the diseases that actually come along with those bacteria that actually affect most of the cows. And when it comes to actually the farmhand, surprisingly, we only have one person who actually works for us. Despite we also put in some effort here and there, but only one person. And we have done that by actually trying to reduce the cost. But one thing is, the best person you can ever get to have in a dairy farm is a person who is willing to learn, listen, and do what he or she is being told.